Hi guys, welcome back to Model Fix. My name's Dan, and in today's episode we are fixing So this episode is a follow-up of the last one. So if you haven't seen the last one, go back and click on that video. It's about trying to free up gummed rings on my engine, 1ZZFE in an MR2, which doesn't seem to have worked. So in this episode we are doing something very extreme. I would not advise you to do this at home. We're using highly flammable liquid. You could totally destroy your engine. I was willing to take the risk, and I did, and I've come out the other side, but I wouldn't advise anyone else to do this. And I should also mention that I had a bit of guidance through this process as well. I've got a friend who's a very educated mechanic, and you know, we use his past experience and education as well as my optimism to do this stuff. So a big thanks goes out to him. So you know, if you're at home on your own, there's a lot of uncertainties around this, and I wouldn't do it really. So this is my disclaimer: don't try this at home. Yeah. Before I drain the oil, I thought I'd do a compression test. But look at these plugs, guys. Look at those, crusted with oil. It's not a good sign. Compression test time now. Alright, we've got about 120 on cylinder 1. That's plug number 4. Same old crusty business. Not as bad. This one, number 3, covered in oil. Disgusting. Number 2 again, covered in oil. Alright, number 2 is just a bit over 120. Consistent so far. Number 3 is also 120. Last but not least, number 4, 120, just above 120. So that's the compression test done. Now let's get a bore scope out and have a look down the bores. I've got my bore scope out. It's pretty decent. It's not amazing. And we are going to go for a deep dive into the engine. So let's go down cylinder 1 first and have a look what's going on down there if we can. Hold on. Alright, in we go. Boom, 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 boom. Right, what can we see? So there's a bit of oil in there. And it's pretty black in there, isn't it? What is that? Can't make out what that is. There's something in there. Right there. Okay, so I've just adjusted the contrast. Number 2. It's not too bad, it's just oily as hell. Number 3. Very oily in there. Number 4. Mind you, some of it might be wet because I've been turning the engine without any spark, so there'll be a bit of fuel in there and a bit of oil as well. But that's number 4. And back to number 1. Looks like there's a bit of rubbish in there, so I want to try and get that out. So I'll crank the engine without a plug in there and see if that blows out. Alright, all that lovely new oil with the supercharged stuff in it is going bye-bye. And then you're going to see what I'm about to do. I might try and get a bore scope in that hole and have a quick look, but I think you've already seen what's under there, so I'm not going to bother, because I don't know if I'll be able to get the bore scope high enough into the top of the piston to have a look. I'll try. Alright guys, that's the oil that's just come out. It's a little bit darker than when it went in, but it's not terrible. But considering I've just literally run it in the engine and then taken it out. It's been running 2-3 times for about, say, an hour tops. Hasn't even been driven on yet. And I just checked. Compression's supposed to be about 218 psi. So we're a bit low on that side. Right guys, I've blocked off the breathers. So that breather there is facing up in the air now. And that one's going to be blocked off in a minute with a bolt. And then I'm going to fill this engine up to the brim with thinners. So I'm going to fill that up. So all of the oil areas are going to be filled up with thinners, so it kills any gummed up pistons, takes out all the carbon, and then down the bore holes also filled up. And I'm going to leave it like that for a whole week, and let's see if it frees up the piston rings. A mate of mine I had a discussion with, and the original idea I had was to fill the engine up with diesel because it's oil based. I was worried about damaging the seals, but he reassured me that he's done this with a car quite a few years ago and it worked. It's a big risk I'm taking here guys. I wouldn't advise you to do it, but let's do it and see what happens. Worst case scenario, new engine, but oh well. Alright guys, I've set up this rig with the thinners, a little pump, and then this is the end that's going to start filling stuff up. So let's go for it. Switch it on. And here we go. You see that coming out? Alright guys, as you can probably see here now, cylinder 1 is full, cylinder 2 is full, cylinder 3 is empty, cylinder 4 is brimmed. Now cylinder 3 for some reason just won't fill up, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill up the engine, fill up the whole block, and then top these up and then put the plugs back in. There we have it guys, filling it up. I'm going to brim it to the top of the rocker cover. Right guys, so as you can see, the rocker cover is brimmed with thinners. Plug R1 has a plug in it and it has been brimmed. Same with 2, 3 and 4. We have a slight problem. Number 3 just won't fill up and it's coming out the exhaust. That's the worst thing. So I don't know what's going on with that. The exhaust has been bunged, so the vapors, well, the thinners don't dry out overnight. The reason it was leaking out of 3 was because I was overfilling it and it was coming out the exhaust valve. I just had that confirmed by a very good mate who I've been discussing this idea with for a while now, and we've decided actually that I'm gonna drain it tomorrow. 8 hours or more is gonna be plenty to free everything up. So I'm gonna drain it all out tomorrow, put some fresh oil in it and see what happens. Woo! So it's been about 16 hours now and I've just taken the plugs out. I'm just going to have a look down the balls to see what's going on, if they're still full, which they should be. Right, so ball 1, let's go down there. Should be shiny and a bit wavy down there. Look. Oh, that actually looks quite empty. That stuff's drained out. Okay. Next one, number 2 is still full. You can see it there. Number 3, let's go down. I'll have a look. Number 3 looks like it's still got fluid in it. Yeah. Okay. And number 4. Let's have a look at number 4. Okay, number 4 looks like it's still full as well. Yeah. See, the car actually let the fluid move around so you can actually see it better. Find number 3 again. Yep. Number 2 we know is full. Number 1 looks really dry. Actually there is fluid in there as well, so that's good. Right, cool. Let's drain it all out now. Okay, and there we go. The thinners is coming out through the dipstick into there. I think I've knackered out that pump I was using yesterday because that's actually intended for oil. Same as this really, but I think it's seized up. But anyway, let's carry on. Alright guys, that's 6 litres of the stuff that's just come out. I'm gonna dump that back in the can and then carry on. But 6 litres has just come out of the sump, yeah. Look at the state of it. I mean, it's not a true representation because there's some crud at the bottom of this oil extractor. And there is the crud at the bottom, there you can see. I did actually rinse this out a little bit. I pumped a little bit out, about 2.5 litres, and then swirled it around a bit and then I took it all out. But filling it up with 6 litres just now and it just sitting in there, can you see how it's like cleaned the front side of it? It's quite reassuring, that. Alright, so about another 3.5 litres has come out now, so that's 9.5 litres in total. Now I'm just going to suck some out the balls and then undo the sump nut, let out whatever's left over. Alright guys, this is the colour of the stuff that's come out. Obviously it's a little bit contaminated because of the black stuff that was in the bottom there. It's got to have done something. It was clear when it went in. Just another sneak peek down here after putting another 3.5 litres in and leaving it for a bit. As you can see, it's already cleaning out all the crud under there, and that's without any scrubbing at all. There was thinners coming out of there. It was just drip, 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 pretty much all night, I think. And that's where this has come from. That looks pretty dirty, that stuff. So anyway, that's out now. Alright guys, something quite interesting. A lot of people say these oil extractors don't work very well. Well, I've just undone the sump nut and pretty much nothing came out. It's just dripping very, very lightly. So that's pretty good for the oil extractor. It obviously does a good job. Alright, next thing then, I'm just going to change the oil filter out, put a new one in. Alright guys, I've put the oil drain back on now. I'm just going to lubricate the turbo a little bit because it's had thinners going through it. Can't be good for it, so I've attached a pipe to the feed and I'm just going to use a good old turkey baster and pump some oil down there. Through the advice of my very good friend who I discussed all of this with, he's actually recommended that I use flushing oil first, so that's what I'm going to pump through the turbo. Then we're going to put normal oil in it, but we're going to put flushing oil, pump that through the turbo, line the bores with it. I'll show you how I'm going to do that in a minute. Hopefully it works, and then turn the key and hope for the best. It's going to be some bloody clouds of smoke, I'll tell you that. So now I'm going to squirt some oil down the bores, some of that flush oil, and what I've done is I've made this little contraption which will plug into the turkey baster. So the turkey baster will go in there, we'll squirt the oil down, and then you've got the T-piece here, and what I'll do is I'll rotate that in the plug hole as it's squirting, and it should be alright. Okay, so for anyone who's never seen flushing oil before, that's what it looks like. It's almost a purpley colour, nearly clear with a tinge of purple to it, purpley orange, I don't know. Weird stuff this, but interesting. Mineral oil, yeah. Right, I thought I'd bang the new plugs in now because the old plugs, look at the state of them. I mean, I could put the old plugs in, but they might be also too wet, might not work because they've been sitting in thinners. So anyway, I'll put these new Denzels in there. These are the recommended plugs for turbo conversion in the manual, so SKR20 R11. Alright guys, she's all back together now. All the breathers are on, everything's all connected, and it's time to fire it up and see what happens. A little bit nervous, expect there to be lots of smoke. I'm going to leave it running for about half an hour and see if it clears, and then I'll redo the compression test as well, prove if it actually did anything and ungum the pistons, which is the whole objective of this exercise, right? Alright, that was no good. It smells very fuely out here. I've got a feeling I might have done the plugs in or something, so I'm going to take them out again, turn the engine over, let it clear all the crap out, and then put them back in, see what happens. Alright, I've just removed the plugs and they look a bit greasy, so I think what's happened is they've been caked in grease with that oil, and that's why it's not firing. So I'm just going to turn the engine over just with that cloth there to catch any crap that comes out, and then I think I'm going to put the old plugs back in and see if they work. I cleaned up the plugs, the old plugs, using my little rig here, and I've put them back in the holes. So it's time for take two and action. Alright guys, not looking good. Let me try and give it some more power, because the battery might be a bit low after running that pump for ages, and see if that makes a difference. Otherwise we'll have to do another compression check now. Might have destroyed the lump. Alright, take three in action. I just tried it a minute ago with the power pack on there, and it seems like it wants to go now, so let's see. of a frightening moment there. I was a bit worried they weren't going to run. I'm just going to leave it to idle now for about half an hour at least, and then see where we go from there. Alright guys, it's been half an hour now. I'm going to dump the flushing oil, put some normal oil in it and run it up again. Also, I just went to a petrol station and got it some high octane fuel, as it's still running quite old normal fuel in there. Alright, the oil is exiting the motor, the flushing oil, and don't look too bad. We'll see when it comes out. We'll do a test and put it in the transparent container again. Yeah, it looks a lot better than it has. So we'll flush that out, let it fully flush out, change the oil filter, and then new oil and filter, and go again. And then we're going to check compression. Can't wait for that. Alright, the flushing oil's out. Look at the state of that. Let's do a clear container test. Okay, that's in the clear container. I just showed you it before, right? Nice and clear and almost a tinge of purple. Now you can't even see through it, black. So I think the thinners have done something, haven't they? Let's put some normal oil in it now, run it up for about half an hour, flush that out, and then we'll put some oil in it again. Fresh all time. Alright guys, the new oil is in. New oil filter as well. And just as a reference point, that's what the new oil looks like. Clean. Let's run it up for 30 minutes again, and then dump it and see what it looks like. First impressions guys, very good. No smoke at all. I'm going to let it warm up, give it about 30 minutes, and then give it a bit of a rev. In fact, I might not give it a rev. I'll dump the oil again, do the same thing again, then I'll give it a rev, and then I'll check compression as well. Alright guys, fully warmed up now. It's been 30 minutes and it seems to be smoking again. That's not good. I'm going to dump the oil again, put some new oil in it, see what happens. Alright, oil is on its way out again. Looks quite golden this time, so fingers crossed. It's got all the muck out now. Let's see. Alright guys, on the right is the oil that just came out, and on the left is the new oil. So as you can see, it's only a touch darker this time. It's still transparent and it's not too bad. So I'm going to put some fresh oil in it now. Just put a new oil filter on, something that's all tight again. Drop it down to the floor, fill it with oil again, run it up for about 10-15 minutes, and then we'll do a compression test and see. I'll try and give it a few revs as well and see what happens, see if it smokes. It's been 20 minutes now, it's been idling, and it's still smoking, and it still smells oily, so hey, I don't think that's worked. What I'll do is let me give it a rev, see how much it smokes, and then let's do a compression test. Well, that was fun. It's like a smoking gun, that is. So I think it actually looks worse to me. I don't know. Let's do a compression test and see. Alright, the plugs are out. A bit bloody hot. But make of them what you will. They're a bit sooted up, which is to be expected, I guess, with all that crap in the cylinders. But they're not bad. They're not crusty. They're just gone a bit black. So let's pull the fuel pump relay now and then compression test. Okay, looks like we've got 120 on cylinder 1, just a little bit over 120. Let's try cylinder 2. 120 on cylinder 2, 120 on cylinder 3 as well, just a bit above. Alright, and finally number 4, all at 120. Okay, so it looks like although the thinners took out a lot of gunk out of the engine, they haven't managed to actually de-gum the rings and increase the compression, and it hasn't done that. So yeah, I think the conclusion here is that if the rings are gunked up that badly, there ain't no solution, no easy fix. It's going to be engine apart. But I think what I might do is, I need low compression for the turbo anyway, so let's do that, see how we get on. I mean, this engine's always been a bit puffy and a bit oil burny, and it's been fine, so let's see what happens. Alright guys, I've had a chat with my mate, and he was saying that if you put thinners in there for more than 8 hours, that should have eaten all the gum off those rings, and it seems like the rings might just be worn. And he was saying also that I need to put it under a little bit of load before we can draw a conclusion on this. So let's do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the new plugs in now. I'm going to put the injectors in, put all my gauges in, and run some boost and drive it down the road and see what happens. Okay, so the sharp-eyed amongst you might have noticed that these intros and outros have been shot a little bit later. So this is actually current day. I've shot this today, 25th of September, and I've been driving the car about. It has been turbocharged and the engine survived. So the extreme measures that we did take have had some sort of effect. Now, the engine was still smoking and still does from time to time out of the blue on idle, or if I give it some hard revs on idle. But under load, there's absolutely no smoke. What I think I'll do is I'll get some miles on this engine now. Obviously, it's going to get very hot having a turbo on it once I get a clutch in it, etc. And say, I don't know, in 1,000 miles time, I'll revisit this and I'll do a compression test and I'll give you an update on what's going on. But so far so good. I'm using 1040 Castrol and that seems to be doing the job. I haven't put any additives in. If the smoking does continue, I do have another trick up my sleeve, which is an additive, which I read about recently. So I might try that as well. But anyway, hope you enjoy the video. As I say, once again, don't try this at home. And if you do, I have nothing to do with it. And if you enjoy the video, subscribe to my channel, like the video, and I'll see you in the next one. The next one's going back to the turbo build. So enjoy guys, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.